I saw the notice, I just can't clear the yard anymore.
You shouldn't be dealing with that at 93, ma'am.
I didn't want to bother anyone.
You spent your life teaching others. Let someone help you now.
Yeah. People stopped coming by a long time ago.
Well, I didn't.
Yeah.
The first thing people noticed about the house was not the broken garage door or the cracked driveway, but how the yard looked like no one had been there in years, as if life had quietly moved on and left everything behind. The grass had grown thick and uneven across the entire front yard, weeds climbing up along the brick walls and creeping toward the windows, bushes overgrown and tangled like they had been left to take over whatever was left of the place. Neighbors walked past it every day, and most of them looked away, because it was easier to assume no one was living there than to ask why someone might be struggling inside. A lien warning had already been placed on the property, threatening $1,800 in penalties if the yard was not cleared. And for most homeowners, that would have been stressful. But for Bernice Hollowell, it felt like something much heavier than money. She was 93 years old, a retired school teacher who had once spent her entire life helping children learn how to read and understand the world. Standing in classrooms for decades, speaking clearly and confidently to students who depended on her. Now she stood slowly on her small front porch, leaning on a worn wooden walker, her body fragile and her steps uncertain, her hands trembling slightly as she tried to steady herself. Her gray hair was thin and unkempt, her face lined deeply with time, and her eyes carried the quiet exhaustion of someone who had learned not to expect help anymore. She wore a faded blue cardigan over an old shirt, loose dark pants that hung slightly from her frame, and worn shoes that had seen too many years. Since her husband passed away, the house had grown quieter, the rooms emptier, and the yard more forgotten. And although she saw the letters from the city, she never called anyone. She had always handled things herself, and she told me later she did not want to bother anyone or be seen as a burden. Even when the grass grew taller than her knees and the pathway to her door began to disappear, when I stopped my truck that morning, I had only planned to look for a moment. But when I saw her standing there on the porch, holding onto that walker and staring out at a yard she no longer had the strength to take care of, I realized this was one of those quiet struggles that no one talks about anymore. She looked at me with hesitation when I asked if I could help, as if she was not sure whether accepting help would take away the last piece of independence she still had. She told me she had been praying quietly, asking God for a way to fix the situation before the lien took her home, but she never expected anyone to actually stop. As I started clearing a small path through the overgrown grass, the sound of the trimmer cutting through years of neglect, she stood there watching, gripping her walker